Oh my god, I did 5,000 miles in 4 weeks. I looked at 38 vans. 35 of those vans had damp, and some of them really bad. Hey up guys, so I've been wanting to do a video like this for a while, but I've just been busy with things with the van. Anybody who buys a second-hand motorhome will know you just seem to jump from one problem to the next, and I've been doing exactly that for the last 4 weeks now. Wow, 4 weeks living in a motorhome seems like an eternity. And I've had my fair share of how can I put this, challenges. If you've watched previous videos, you'll know that I discovered an 11 kilo bottle of propane. Doesn't last as long as you think it will when you've got your heating running all the time. Then I discovered the batteries. Well, I already knew when I bought the motorhome the batteries were not up to the job. If I recall, she had two 95 amp hour AGM batteries, and if you've watched my video about the Fogstar, we actually upgraded that 95 amp hours to a Fogstar 628 amp hour, and that was about a week ago, I think. I'd have to check the date. 30th of December, and we're now on the 8th of January, so just over a week ago. And the first night, or the first day I had the battery, I booked myself into a campsite so I could use hookup, because the battery came with 50% charge, as they generally do when they're shipping them, and charged it overnight. It wasn't quite full, I think it was about 85-90%, which was okay. Put the rest in on the drive back over to Yorkshire, because I was over in Hull, and she hasn't dropped, that battery hasn't dropped below 70%. And the main reason is because I'm using it every day. I've got the inverter turned on permanently. Just another video coming up shortly. I'm getting a new inverter put in, because the one that's installed apparently delivers up to 1500 watts. It doesn't. If I plug my EcoFlow into it and say I want 1200 watts, it won't give it. And before you start commenting about how I shouldn't be charging the EcoFlow from an inverter, I agree 100%. But this van does not have any USB ports. I'm getting some installed, so I've had to use the EcoFlow purely for the USB ports, just so I can charge up my phones, etc. And obviously I have my laptop, camera batteries and stuff like that I need to charge. They all get charged up from the EcoFlow, and plugging it into the cigarette lighter while I'm driving, delivering 100 watts is nothing, you know. But even though the inverter says it's 1500 watts, and the guys at Electrimech over in Hull upgraded the cabling, the fuses, so it should be able to deliver 1500 watts. If I push that EcoFlow and say I want 1200 watts, because you can set it in the app, the inverter shuts down, the battery, the EcoFlow shuts down, and the electrics for the van shut off. So we're getting that changed. But I digress. This video is more about what it's been like for me. 4 weeks in a motorhome. It's been interesting. I've had a good mix of park ups. The trusty industrial estate, it's always a good one. I can always find space there. Not the most picturesque place to wake up, you know, but at least I get a good night's sleep. That's what I'm bothered about. I've parked up next to Shepley Marina in Murfield. That was amazing, because the day that I stayed there, or the night that I stayed there, that day I actually drove past and I saw all these people out with big cameras and binoculars taking photographs of the birds. So I thought, I'll go have a look, let's see what they're up to. And it turns out there's a nice little community there of swans and ducks and geese, and it was just amazing. So I decided I was going to stay there that night, and luckily it was a good thing I did, because the weather forecast said that there was snow forecast for 9 p.m. It didn't come till about 10. Then on the Sunday morning when I woke up, the entire floor was just covered in snow, 6 inches of snow. It was fantastic. So I went to the local shop, I got some peas, fed the birds, went for a walk, and what surprised me is the amount of times I have driven past that marina when I lived in the area years ago. Thousands of times I've driven past that marina. Not once did I ever stop and learn about the history. It's really interesting. So there's that. Then there's the challenge of getting fresh water. I've started being very frugal with the water that I use, because it is hard to come by in the UK or in England. There are places. I did go to one garage. In fact, I'll drop in some video of the drive that I did, because I stayed over at Shepley Marina on the Saturday night, and on the Sunday I was snowed in, and I thought, I don't need to move. I've got a quarter of a tank of water, it'll do me. Never ever trust the gauges in a 21-year-old motorhome. I tried to make a cup of tea, nothing, not a drop. So I had to drive to get some water. Luckily I found a petrol station in Halifax that had a water tap, and on the way back I found out there was a petrol station literally half a mile away from where I was, a mile away from where I was, and they also have a petrol tap, water tap. So I'll certainly be using that one in the future. So I went to the petrol station and I said to him, look, I need chocolate, I need diesel, and I need water, but I need to know where your water tap is so I can have a look, see if I can get to it. And he told me, and he said, how much water do you want? I said, oh, only about 50 litres. Anybody who knows Heimers, I think it's 120 litres, and I just sat there filling her up, and that was 4 days ago, and I've still got 3/4 of a tank, so she's doing okay. What else? Yeah, I had a really nice park up on the Moors. That was a couple of weeks ago now, up Ripondham. Woke up, opened up the blind, and you just got the countryside there. Curious sheep looking at the motorhome, wondering what the hell it is. Then another one in Wakefield, Flockton Way. I just found the housing estate and I parked up there, and it was quiet, it was nice. So all in all, it's been okay. The challenges really have been more to do with the heating, because the gas ran out at 5 o'clock one morning. Luckily I didn't rely on the Heimers system to manage the bottles, I managed them myself, so I had one turned off and one turned on, so I knew that I had gas in another bottle, but I just didn't know how much. But that was after reading the manual at 5 o'clock in the morning with a quilt wrapped round me to keep warm, because I didn't know what this light meant. I had an idea, but I just needed to be certain. So read the manual, discovered it was because it had run out of gas. Then the next morning, got woke up at 3 AM or 5 AM, I don't recall, and different light, I'd run out of battery. So I'm running the engine at 5 o'clock in the morning on a campsite. Luckily I was the only one in that part of the campsite. But you learn from your mistakes, and you learn to conserve power, you learn to conserve water, you learn to conserve gas. I did a video recently on redundancy, because my background is IT, and as the old joke goes, the only thing you need to know about computers is backup, backup, backup. And I think it's the same for motorhomes. I mean, I have a dual gas supply, I'm getting a diesel heater fitted, so I'll have 2 heating systems in the van. Worst case scenario, we've got blankets. I even have an electric throw, the EcoFlow is always charged. So I know that I could keep me and whoever else in this van warm, at least overnight if I needed to. Then they have the battery. Well, we upgraded that, 628 amps. Wow. I didn't know until after I'd had it installed. Apparently it's the biggest leisure battery on the market. So this is what we've got to deal with in Yorkshire at the moment. Tonight gets down to, I believe, -4, -5, depending where you are. I'm between Leeds and Halifax at the moment, so it's going to get pretty bitter. Normally I will turn the heating off when I go to bed, but I think tonight I might just leave it on at the lowest setting, because if I don't, it's possible the van will turn off the water supply or empty the water pump. I don't know whether you're familiar with Heimers, but they have a little red button near the boiler, and if it gets to 5 degrees, that actually opens and it releases all the water from the water boiler, which is a good thing. But obviously if you're in the van and you need water, it's a bad thing. So if it gets cold and I'm in the van, I just leave the heating on really low, so at least the system knows that it's being used, and that should in theory keep it running. I'll update you on that tomorrow. Now, regarding the journey and the experience and what I went through to get the van, I was talking to a friend the other day and I said, if somebody had have showed me a video before I left Tenerife and said, this is what you're going to go through to get the van that you want, I likely would have stayed in Tenerife. I think part of the journey for me was the pain of visiting vans, finding damn vans, driving hundreds of miles, thousands in reality. I've got a video on that as well. Oh my god, I did 5,000 miles in 4 weeks. I looked at 38 vans. 35 of those vans had damp, and some of them really bad, like literally water running down the wall. That's a hard pass, but it was worth it. It was worth every bit of it. I'm in a position now where the van is reasonably clean. The battery's upgraded, heating's getting upgraded at the weekend, and after that I will be heading up to Scotland. Lovely. Fiona and Albert are coming over, so I'll be going up to Scotland to meet them. Woohoo! Enjoying the cold. Come on. There we go. Never a good idea to put one of your tyres on snow. Especially when you come to a complete stop. So that's what I've got lined up over the next few days. The van's really nice and toasty on a night. It's German, so it's really well insulated. It's designed for cold weather, I think. Quite spacious. I will, in the next probably after the weekend, do a tour of the van, outside and in, but I am waiting until I get the diesel heater fitted for that, because then pretty much all the heating and electrics will have been upgraded and she'll be pretty much off grid 100%, and show you around her, see what you think. Have a good one, guys. Any questions, drop them in the comments, especially anything relating to the Fogstar, because it's a good battery. I don't like the app. The app is pants. Oh, and actually a little update on that. Fogstar actually contacted me and said, oh yeah, that app is no longer supported, but we're developing a new one. And they haven't responded to my questions, like, why don't you tell people that the app isn't supported before they buy the product? Why have you discontinued support for an app when you haven't got a replacement in place? You know, important things from a development perspective, I would think. Enjoy the drive, guys.